It is Thursday on Raid Shadow Legends, but you knew that. Now, version 8.50 of this game has just become live, and with that is the Vault Keeper WIXWELL fusion, and the first thing you'll notice is that, the first thing you notice is that there's nothing to notice because it's gone. So, it's a classic style fusion, as they say, instead of a fragment collection where you need 16 of a rare, 4 of an epic, and you fuse him. I mean, obviously you could see that, but I thought I'd point it out in a way. So there's other champions we'll go through them another time, but right now we're going to look through at Vault Keeper WIXWELL, who is Sacred Order. Man here. He is defense, because people voted defense on every single skill. You knew that, I knew that, we all knew that. I told people why they were potentially wrong in doing so. It got mixed reception, but that's just my opinion. So now you've probably seen the thumbnail and the title of the video, and this is saying why you should skip. And this is assuming that you don't live on Raid 24/7 and you look for excuses to play the game a bit less. Congratulations, you're normal. I'm not. Either way, so getting off, this is not a champion designed for endgame accounts. I'm going to make that very clear. Even if it was like the support skills, he wasn't someone who is going to be used in high level arena, dungeon speed farming, or at least I don't think he was. He's someone for progressing accounts, but how much will this guy offer you for progressing accounts? So let's look through his kit. First off is, obviously, no, this is designed mostly for bosses. So where is a Provoke useful? It's good for Magma Dragon from Doom Tower, Head of Decay from Hydra, who we'll go back to afterwards, and potentially trying to control enemy champions, which combines with the passive, which gives him counterattack every single turn, similar to Berdal Failhammer, at least I think that's his name, who is a champion that no one has ever mentioned in the past 3 years until now. Next is this. So, this is mostly for general gameplay use. Just like, it's a 3-in-1, and overall I'd say this is an okay skill. It's not really going to sort of jump out at you, as in terms of what wasn't viable for is viable now. It's a bit too spread out for that, but otherwise it's fine. You can use this for Doom Tower progression, dungeon progression, Hydra. I mean, he's sold mostly as a Hydra progression champion. You're not going to use this guy in the teams that are doing millions and millions and billions of damage. That's where you want those Trundas and those Yumikos and those max HP champions for. He's not designed for those. He's for people who are trying to get their one key on hard, brutal, nightmare, etc. He's for that, and to make it so your team doesn't die. Moving on is this. Now, they don't tell you how this works, or do they? More info. There's a lot of debuffs in that, isn't it, now, the game, and buffs. Okay, so, yeah, this is quite a read now, isn't it? Now, I'm not going to read this all, so I'm going to just slowly scroll through it, and you can read through it in your own time. So, yeah. Once to stop, obviously, all crowd control, including polymorph, which is great, except for the fact that, apart from stopping Polymorph, he really doesn't bring a whole lot else to Arena. Let's be honest with ourselves. Like, sure, he defends the team somewhat, he can do this, but you know as well as I do that if you're doing like Gold 5 Arena, then you can just bring like speed up, defense down, nuke, you're fine, you don't need this guy for that. And for like high level up, live arena, etc., this is not your guy. You know it as much as I do. So it's fine, but again, you're mostly going to be using it for this rather than this. Like, this is a nice effect, but it's on the wrong champion, basically. They're going to have to add it to someone else who's more of an arena specialist. Also, on auto, this will go either on your leader, or I believe it goes on a champion with the lowest HP as a way to try and defend them. So it's pretty similar to Paragon in that way. But otherwise, you want to play this guy on manual if you are trying to get maximum use out of this. So that makes him mostly for Hydra progression, maybe Doom Tower dungeon progression, etc. Although it kind of dates him in all of these areas. And he is 4, 5, 11 legendary books in total, which is, I'd say, about average nowadays, but I'd have liked if it was a bit less because, let's be honest, these damage books do pretty much nothing. It says he's defense, but basically he's support. Now, there's a couple other things I wanted to mention regarding a couple intricacies in this kit. The first is this buff not being removed on himself means that in terms of Hydra, Mischief is going to try and steal buffs off him if it can. And Mischief has a pretty high accuracy stat compared to the other Hydra heads, so you would need a lot of resistance on him so that it's not just like stealing the rest of these buffs, cutting his turn meter in the process, and otherwise hampering his effectiveness on the team. And one other thing I have heard regarding how these two can work together to provoke Head of Decay, despite my otherwise concerns in his reliability in doing so, is that if all of your champions are at exactly full HP, then Head of Decay will target your leader. So if you have Vaultkeeper WIXWELL as your leader, then it should mean that Decay is just going to provoke itself over and over. Although this falls apart the instant that someone loses HP if this shield isn't strong enough to mitigate all of it. Or just if Decay goes off like the lowest current HP instead of as a number and not a percentage, which in that case you would need him to have a lot of defense and not much HP, so a bunch of much more durable champs than him, none of those squishy attack champs like, you know, your Royal Guards and anything else. And let's be honest with ourselves, if you can get all of this to work as elaborate setups in terms of gear requirements and whatnot, you're probably past the point where you actually need this guy for Hydra in the first place. So that's kind of a bit of a defeating of purpose in that regard. So, anyway, if you're watching this, then you probably had your mind made up on whether you're fusing this guy or not in the first place. If you didn't, or if you just wanted to listen to myself harp on for a while, then, well, there you go. Because honestly, at this point, I can't think of much else that you've probably not already heard of elsewhere. So, right, see ya.